And welcome to the Scarlet and Gray podcast of the Scarlet and Gray Empire on YouTube. If you want to find us there on audio, it's at Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, whatever your streaming service of choice. Find us there, Scarlet and Gray podcast. We're doing the Johnny, no Johnny today, just Corey, but I do have a special guest, and Kiran Shanker. Kiran, you are here to give us some rundown on how we can take on this mighty Tigers team that seems to have the Ohio State number. We play them in just a few days on January 1st in the well, I guess it's the Sugar Bowl. I was going to say the Rose Bowl because for some reason I still have in my head we should have been in Dallas, but whatever. In the Sugar Bowl, where Clemson lost the title game last year to LSU, and Ohio State obviously looking for revenge. This is obviously a different ball game from last year. Ohio State was favored last year, I believe, and then this year they are not, and nobody really thinks they have a shot. But we're going to talk about a couple of things to give some confidence to the Ohio State fan base, but also be real about a few things as well. There are some positives and some negatives, and also some shortcomings, and also some things that we might be able to exploit. We're going to talk about all that. But first and foremost, Kiran, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well. Just a quick little bit about me. I'm a third-year student at the Ohio State University. I play varsity football at St. Xavier High School. So two players that will be very involved in this game. My former teammate, Matt Bockhorst, starts at left guard. Fortunately, when we overlapped his senior year, my junior year, he had torn his ACL, but thank God that he's recovered and he's putting in hard work. And then Justin Hilliard was a senior when I was a freshman, but he was like a mentor at my school, if you know, like a freshman mentor, one of the guys that was like a leader. And just a great leader at St. X. We reconnected in college just a little bit, and he's a guy who's really just overcome so much. So really looking forward to seeing how he's able to match his performance against Northwestern. But we'll get to that in just a little bit.
Yeah, he was exceptional against Northwestern. That's obvious. Anybody who saw the game, Hilliard's, sometimes defensive players don't stand out even though they have a great game. He stood out. That's just a fact. You knew Hilliard made his presence known. And we think he's going to be very key against Clemson. At least we hope he's going to be key against Clemson, because I don't know what the rotation is going to be at the linebacking core, what they have planned. But Kiran, you're here to kind of help us with that a little bit. But let's start first and foremost, right? Let's get into the Clemson Ohio State game. We're going to talk about Ohio State offense versus Clemson defense, first of all. The Ryan Day, Kevin Wilson versus Brent Venables. The sign stealing Brent Venables, apparently. And which, by the way, I don't care. I mean, it's legal. Do what you're going to do, both teams can do it. That's fine. Maybe Ohio State needs to get better at disguising those signs. Let me ask you first and foremost, before we get into the X's and O's a little bit, how does one prepare for that when you know the other guy is a master sign stealer? Do you have any input on that?
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure we don't even really use signs on offense. We typically have a dummy signaler and a real signaler, and we mix it up every single week. So it's pretty tough to steal signals, but I mean,
doesn't it encourage you though that Ryan Day is at least aware of it, and at least that way he can prepare for it?
Well, one thing we can do is hurry to the line of scrimmage with a distinguished call, and then have fields clap within 5 seconds, look at the coverage shell, see if it's going to bring pressure, signal play real fast, and then snap. Then they really don't have a chance to adjust too much.
Would you think that an up-tempo game would be a good remedy as well for sign stealers?
Yeah, with the up-tempo, it's like, when you're signaling in the play, they're already pretty much at the line of scrimmage sometimes, just in a base 11. So, they may have – it's really complicated to think about, how do they even know where exactly to line up? But they may have that in the game plan, and they may just hurry up to the line of scrimmage and almost have like a base personnel for that.
That makes sense. It'd be pretty tough to get the play call in and read the sign and get the play call into your defense when you're going fast up tempo. It'd be interesting to see how Ohio State does that. Or I think I've talked to our good friend Dylan Freeman, who says they might go to more huddle, so it'd be harder to steal what's going on. But either way, it's good to know that Ryan Day is prepared for that. Ryan Day's not a dummy. He knows about it. The Hall of College Football, I'm sure, knows about it. But obviously it makes sense, though, because there's times where it just seems like they're right in your back pocket when you run a play and they know exactly what's going on. But anyway, back on offense. Okay, look, we know that against Northwestern, the run game came alive. And last year, we really ran the ball successfully for a time on Clemson. Now, granted, two different teams now. I know Clemson's got a better front seven than they had last year, minus Isaiah Simmons. I mean, that's a big loss, but still they've added some beef and some great players up front. That being said, do you think it's possible to have some success against Clemson running the ball, the way we're doing it right now, especially after you watch the Northwestern game a few times?
Yeah, I think the biggest key for the Buckeyes is establishing the physical zone run game, whether it's outside zone or base inside zone, split zone, a couple other variations, right? They just need to establish control of the line of scrimmage. Now, what they did in last year after halftime is they started to go 3 down defensive linemen, 2 guys. It was almost like a 5-6 man box, and then they ran almost like 3 safeties deep. So looking at that, it should have been easier to run the ball, but the Buckeyes did not have as much success running the ball with Dobbins' injury, and just with a little bit of confusion up front, it looked like. The Buckeyes will be prepared this year, obviously, if they do choose to line up in that big dime package, as you may call it, or you could call it, with the 3 down defensive linemen. I think with Clemson's personnel this year, I think they're probably just going to run some hybrid fronts. So maybe almost a mixture of that and 4 down defensive linemen, because with KJ Henry and Brian Breesy and Murphy and with Murphy and Tyler Davis, you really don't want to take those guys off the field. So they give them the best chance to stop the run. Clemson's normal base defense, they'll go 4 defensive linemen, 2 backers, and the hybrid, you could call him an overhang defender. Most of the time, overhang essentially means to the passing strength. They're almost splitting the difference between the last receiver and the end of the line of scrimmage, or the end of the tackle box. Or they line up directly over that third or second receiver to the wide side of the field. So they do run a variation of, some 2 deep coverages. A lot of the times the safety will match up vertically against any threat to their side of the field, and they'll run different variations of those trap coverages where the corner can really come up on routes underneath, and they'll run just some pattern match coverages where the corners are essentially on an island. So they do a few different things based on situation, down and distance, and opponent. So in order for the Buckeyes to have success running the ball, I do think they need to challenge these corners one-on-one. It's a blue chip secondary loaded with some talent. Darian Kendrick was a borderline 5-star recruit. They also have Landon Zanders and Nolan Turner, who are both athletic safeties who were versatile.
Turner, who ended our season, but he's going to be out the first half of the game. So,
I actually did not know that. So
yeah, he was called for targeting against Notre Dame, so he's going to be out for the first half.
I assume it will be Ray Thornton, because he's or Joseph Charleston. They're both. I know that the safeties have to be pretty versatile in what they do because they're asked to do a lot of the same things. They typically like to have Nolan closer to the line of scrimmage because he takes great angles in the run game, but he is athletic, and he can also cover a little bit in the slot. Now,
he's like a Jordan Fuller, basically.
Yeah, no, he's similar to what Jordan Fuller was able to do, but they also have Landon Zanders cover the middle of the field a lot, too.
Gotcha.
They're interchangeable pieces to this defense. Technically, Nolan would be that strong safety, they have him listed as like a free safety. They have Zanders as a strong safety, but they both do a little bit of the same thing at each position. Just because with one defense, it's versatile in the fact that the safeties are asked to do a lot of the same things. Versus, with the Buckeyes defense last year, we just had Fuller stay deep, and that's pretty much what we asked him to do. It's the most important part of the defense.
Yeah, it really crushed us last year when we put him back. The biggest mistake we made last year was putting him in the slot and putting Proctor back at a single high when Wade got ejected, because I think Fuller was so key in keeping things clean in the back. And apparently they're telling me that they have 2 safeties that can do that, and so that's a nice luxury to have considering the defense they play. But we were successful, Kiran, with that cutback run quite a bit against Northwestern. I've been told it's
Yeah, the
going.
offensive line on that one particular touchdown run, you see Thayer Mumford just come across the formation and wash that 3 technique defensive
He was
tackle.
killing people. He was
Not
absolutely.
only that,
That's where JK's biggest run for against Clemson last year came. I mean, that was a big touchdown run he had, put us up 10-0. That was that same play. And Munford, again, if you watch it again, Munford was completely clearing out the backside there. But do you think that kind of play can have success again this year, judging by the fact they have a little bit better front?
it could. I think Fields, with his knee being healthy, is a threat to run, so that helps. The offensive line is played well for the most part. There have been some hiccups here and there, but that just happens when the Buckeyes only had 6 games this year, so there hasn't been that time to mesh and gel. And against the Clemson front 7, in that first series run, the Buckeyes are on offense. They need to really establish the run game in terms of getting some hard-fought yards, but it's also going to come down to the passing game as well. Hopefully they can take some easy passes, build the confidence of Fields. Last year, you remember that Garrett Wilson catch? That gave us a lot of momentum. And when they have one-on-one matchups like that, whether it be Wilson in the slot against that new safety, whether they're going a 2-deep look and you have a linebacker in space, or they're just going single high and the corners essentially has to follow that Chris Olave one-on-one. There's some comeback routes that they're vulnerable against, some stop routes on the outside. And if Fields can make those type of, harder throws, but still routine for him in terms of his talent level and his just experience level, those are routine throws he can make. That can really add up and add to the run game, because it will not allow Brent to just sell out against and use some of his run blitzes or get more men engaged into the run game. And if the run game is able to get 4 or 5 yards a pop, then it will open up the pass game as well. Just obviously, when they both complement off each other, that's when an offense starts to gel. And that could happen with some more up-tempo. Keep Clemson honest, because with the up-tempo, like I said, hurry up to the line of scrimmage in our base offensive personnel, clap. Typically the safeties, if they're moving, if they're showing something different post-snap, they'll move a little bit. Or if they're showing a specific run blitz, the linebacker will come up a little bit. Then you have 15 seconds for Day and Wilson to make a call to the student assistant, student manager, whoever it is this year, who calls the signals. He signals it in as soon as he gets it, and then they have another 10 seconds to snap. So he can motion the tight end to the other side. They can change the splits a little bit. And that type of offense can be really, really hard to defend against, because they're taking what they give you, and then you, as a defense, have to adjust to that as fast as you can. And it may be too late at that point.
So when I was watching the Northwestern game and the Michigan State games, I get their defenses. I mean, Northwestern's got a really good defense, but I get their defenses aren't on the athletic level of a Clemson. I'm confident, because of the way Trey Sermon's running and his confidence level in the offense right now, that he can have success against Clemson. I just, I get that the Brian Breesy adds a lot to their and Tyler Davis. They're both really good on the inside. And I get KJ Henry's really good. Xavier Thomas is ironic, because I know he's not playing as much. I think COVID got a hold of him or something, but he hasn't really had the impact at Clemson that everybody thought he could. But they got Skalski, I think his name is, in the middle, who's a solid, steady Eddie linebacker. They got players, and you mentioned their safeties. I still think, based on that, I don't know if they're going to use as much zone blocking, but that dual blocking, I don't think that is part of the zone scheme, if I'm correct or not. But that I think they can have success with that cutback. The way Sermon is commanding that cutback lane, it's so big and so key when you see a running back see the lane before it even happens. He knows where that backside defender is or whatever, and he just can take the hole and go. Even if the guy is athletic enough to get to Trey already has 5 yards. And I agree with you. I just think there's that level of they're gonna have a level of success. Maybe not JK 141 yards, 25 yards of carry in the first quarter type success until he got hurt. But I think you're right. I think Sermon can pop 5-6 yards a pop, and he can do that. Finishing on the run game, do you think, based on what you've seen on film, you're confident we can have some good success in the run game against Clemson?
Yeah, I do think that you talked about earlier in the season, it's pick your poison with the Buckeyes defense right now. And if you try to stop the run, they're going to be able to pass. And you saw that against Northwestern. They played more guys in coverage. The Buckeyes were able to run the ball very successfully. I think Brent's going to take more of a balanced approach. Get some guys who can engage in the run game, but also have enough players in coverage and avoid mismatches in coverage. So it's going to be key to really just base it off of a snap-by-snap basis, maybe have some prepackaged plays, some certain alignments that Fields can quickly look and have a secondary play call. And that's just going to take a lot of film study. We can really trust that this team is doing due diligence in that, especially after what happened the last year. I think that we can fully expect the offense, as long as the game plan and the foundation of the offense is clicking, that they can build that momentum as the game goes along. Maybe it's 3 points the first drive. This is a great defense. It is loaded with blue chip players in the secondary and in the front four. The most important parts of the defense, front four and the secondary, loaded. Nolan Turner being out is a big key for the first half. But we really need to look for the ability to gel and mesh, which is hard when they've only played 6 games, right? So it's going to take a big leap forward in terms of both aspects. The offensive line can run block. We've seen that. But when it gets to 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, and the offense is trying to maybe run a longer developing pass route that they have the advantage in, that they have the opening. But if they send a 5-man pressure and the offensive line has trouble picking it up, it doesn't even matter at that point. So the key
I agree,
is really knowing what's in front of them, being able to adjust if they come out cold, being able to continue to adjust if they come out hot, because then Brent's going to change it up a little bit like he did last year. So the synergy is needed.
Yeah, well, we'll move on to the pass game real quick because we could spend all day on the run game. I love talking the run game for whatever reason, but Fields last against Northwestern. He didn't take the checkdowns. Not often. I mean, he did a couple of times, but not often. We saw tight ends running wide open. That was frustrating to me a little bit. Saw the flat open a little bit. It's like the great quarterbacks will take that. Tom Brady's and Aaron Rodgers of the world, they will take that every time. Fields has an issue as well as sitting back in the pocket a little too long, waiting for those long developing plays, staring down a receiver here and there, waiting for Wilson to get open. And thank God that Olave looks to be back. They saw a photo of him in practice because he's desperately needed, obviously. Venables is obviously known for his exotic blitz packages, and we have a guard and a center who have not been great this year with blitz packages, Myers and Miller. Even Davis has, been a little iffy at times, but he still had a good year. Miller scares me a little bit just with that. I got to wonder if Kiran, put your coaching hat on for just a second. If you're a coach at Ohio State and Ryan Day says to you, Kiran, we got to figure out a game plan to kind of cover Harry Miller's weaknesses against the stunts, the twists, the safety blitz, the delayed blitzes. How do you cover that up a little bit if you're a Buckeye offense?
Yeah, the film room is the most important thing, and being able to apply that on the practice field so they can go all day in the film room and use the laser pointer, say, here they're in the odd front. Look at the 2 linebackers here. When we go in this look, they might send double A gap pressure and slant the nose tackle in here. They might do something exotic, but on the practice field, it's going to take reps. 2 weeks really helps. Looking at last year's film really helps. And also just having confidence in the guy. Like, we know Harry Miller is a talented kid. We know that it's hard when you're a first-time starting offensive lineman and you play 6 games and it's off and on and off and on. Mm-hmm. So I have some faith in Harry. I'm an optimist at heart. That's why, I'm like a former player who's been around the game, that the media looks a little bit differently. Like, this guy stinks, or I'm worried about this guy.
I think the Twitter fan base is really the one that do that. Yeah.
But I look at Harry Miller and I say, all right, I trust that they're going to get in the film room and they're going to figure this out on the practice field and figure it out. And in the middle of the game, like I said, if they go tempo and they get Clemson to show their pressure, and Day and Wilson are able to in their headset change the play, get the signal in, and Fields is able to use a couple words to change that protection, it's just going to take the mental capacity to know who you're going to take. Northwestern did a couple of things that just confused a little bit. And I guarantee you, Brett's going to be trying to send pressure on third down. I mean, I can almost guarantee that first third and long situation.
They send the house a lot of times on third down.
Send 6. Yeah, they will probably send 6. So the reps for the rest of their practice are crucial. And we know Myers and Davis are veterans, NFL players. Build Harry's confidence up, because this guy can play. He really can. And
do you put like a running back in the pocket with Fields just to play that gap just in case there's a blitz that comes there, like a Sermon or Teague?
With the 6-man protection, it can be tough too, because essentially with 5 offensive linemen, one man's coming free, and Sermon and Teague are big body backs, but it's still tough when the linebacker has about an 8-yard sprint. Yeah. And the running back has to square him up and make sure that Fields has a pocket.
I've even seen P get popped on the ground in the Indiana game when I'm blitzing safety because they get the head of steam, and it's just, it don't matter how big you are.
It's tough. It takes a lot of technique. It takes practice. And one way that the Buckeyes can counter against that is specific route combos that can attack the blitz, whether if they're going man, inside quick, potentially get a first down or get in better field position. So there's a few things that they can do to really counteract that 6-man protection. 7-man protection could work well too. We know that.
We've done a lot of Max Pro for sure. But my issue is because Fields, I'm not saying he's can't read a defense, something like that, like some of the fans like to chide him for. I mean, he's a smart kid. We know he's that. He had a scholarship to Harvard, for crying out loud. The kid, 4.0 student. He's not dumb. He's got NFL caliber coaches coaching him and developing him. He's got the physical traits. We all know he's going to be a first-round draft pick. But my issue is, again, holding the ball too long, making some really freshman-type mistakes that he shouldn't be making at this point. My concern is this: knowing when and where to attack the departed zone. When you see a blitz coming from it, because Venables, again, is so good at disguising it. When you see a blitz coming from a certain area, because the quarterback know the route combo to get to that certain section. Say, okay, look, they're blitzing from here. Okay, now hit the flat, because it's wide open because of the blitz and whatnot. Do you have confidence that Fields, because he hasn't really shown me that this year. If it's not Olave or Wilson, he doesn't seem to go anywhere else. I mean, it's kind of like I'd be drilling it in Fields' head. Look, Ruckert, right? He's just sitting there in the middle. He's wide open. That's 8 yards all day, easy. It's like, look at your other guys. I understand you don't have the rapport with the Williams and with Fleming and with JSN. You don't have that rapport yet as you do with those 2 outside guys. And I thought this might be a problem coming into this season from last year, where we, where I felt we had, Mac and Victor were underappreciated in a lot of ways, but that was a lot of experience at receiver that he could count on. This year, I think he feels he can count on 2 guys, and that's kind of it. And I felt that might be an issue. Now, you correct me if I'm wrong, Kiran. Say, hey, shut up, Corey, you're wrong. But he's not. I'm not seeing it where he's like, I know I can hit my tight end. I know I can hit my running back out of the flat. And sometimes he's inaccurate on those passes anyway. You're right that we're going to have a quick, short pass game in this game with the blitz packages they send. Do you have confidence they can develop that in 2 weeks?
It's tough because it's not like a normal bowl season when you have 3 weeks.
Of course.
They really just have to watch about 8 games of film. The most useful will be Virginia Tech and Notre Dame in terms of what they do defensively.
Yeah, I don't even know why you would watch like the Citadel or something like that.
But in order to properly plan against that, obviously it's easier when you stay ahead of the chains.
Yeah.
3rd and 4 instead of 3rd and 8. But when they get into those situations, the key really is to have the right play calls, and even have play calls that if something goes wrong, what we know about Fields is when something goes wrong, he can make stuff happen.
He can.
In those first 3 weeks, albeit not against the best opponents, still he was making very, very good throws.
Yeah.
Indiana, Northwestern, much, much better defenses. It didn't look as pretty. And it just happens. Lawrence has had some bad games. in his career.
Actually, statistically compared to the first 20 games or whatever, Fields comes out just a little bit ahead of Lawrence. That's the ironic thing. And it's not because, and we all know Lawrence is a great player. That's not a knock on Lawrence at all. I think people are disrespecting Fields right now. He's had a couple of rough games. He's really had, maybe 3 rough games in his Buckeye career, maybe. Indiana was still a pretty good game overall, except for a couple really boneheaded turnovers. I don't even count that first interception. That's just crap that happens sometimes. You just don't catch the safety there. But the other 2 where he just threw them up for grabs, and he did it against Northwestern too. It's like, you've got to stop doing that. You definitely can't do that against Clemson. Take the sack if you're going to take it. Punt the ball, live to fight another day. But I understand there's times, you've told me this, Kiran, there's times he just wants to make a play. I get it. He's a playmaker. In my opinion, now tell me if I'm wrong, Kiran, we did this with Cardale Jones a little bit against Bama. I'm at this point where I'm like, 2 reads, go. First read, second read, if it's not there, go. Don't sit in the pocket for 8 seconds. You don't have 8 seconds. I mean, sometimes it's frustrating at times. Like, I love this kid. I just want to see him succeed, not even just because he's a Buckeye, just because I think he's a great kid, legitimately. And I just want to see all the success for him. But, man, there's times he's sitting in that pocket. I'm like, you can't possibly think you have that much time. I mean, you're focused. It's like you can't focus on 2 things, have that internal clock of a quarterback supposed to have. And he really doesn't have that at times. I think if there's a downfall, that's going to be it. And they're going to see a lot of Max Pro just to protect from that. Those exotic blitz packages, which sometimes, unfortunately, they're going to drop back, rush 3, drop back, and then he's going to have a heck of a time trying to find somebody open when you're only got 3 receivers going out. But that being said, again, do you think that's a bad thing to say to a quarterback? 2 reads, go?
Yeah, with Coach
He's like, yeah, that's stupid, Corey.
Coach Day's offense, they will have some half-field reads. They'll have some full-field reads. I think one thing that I was thinking about when you said that is similar to like a Nebraska game where when you realize you have that one-on-one matchup on the outside, which is going to be the case for most of this game, whether the corners are playing soft bail, whether the corners are playing up at the line of scrimmage. The comeback route is still a one-on-one opportunity.
It is. And Olave runs that better than anybody in the nation. I don't care.
Really well, because he can push vertically in a hurry, and his ability to start is very exceptional.
It's elite, yeah.
It is elite. And Fields can make that throw in his sleep, and it's not an easy throw to make.
As long as his thumb's okay. I mean, look, update. Ryan Day and Justin both say his thumb's going to be fine. Let's hope they're being truthful. I don't know. It could be just like put it out to the media, but if his thumb is fine, yeah, that's a throw he makes all day, easy.
And that's something that kept them honest last year, and I think that it's something that they can use again this year. That kept Clemson honest. And man, I just remember when we played Michigan in 2019, they were able to take some deep shots and convert. And I almost get excited thinking with Wilson, Olave, Jackson Smith, Jameson, even with guys like Ruckert and as a really good receiving tight end, in my opinion, there's going to be shots right for the taking. Notre Dame had some like lengthy guys, a good tight end group with Mayer and some good receivers who just weren't not as fast as the Buckeyes group. Olave is probably like a 4.47 guy. Wilson probably
4.55.
He gets fast because he has long speed, and because of his transitional speed. That's why they love using him.
He's got great quickness, obviously.
Yeah, fluidity to not lose. Speed, in and out of the breaks. William is a fast guy. Jackson Smith is really a complete receiver.
I figured Jackson Smith to be the next Olave next year. But so there's some things we can do in the pass game that could open it up a little bit. Like you said, I'm worried about protection more than I am actually the pass game. And I want Fields to be able to just take what the defense gives him a little bit instead of trying to force things sometimes. I mean, he's got that mindset of a playmaker. It just gets him in trouble at times. I agree with you. But I just want to move on quickly here to the defensive side of the ball for Ohio State, because this is probably where most people probably can probably score. But a lot of people worry about, you got Etienne, you got EJ Williams, you got Amari Rodgers, you got Trevor Lawrence, obviously, and Trevor Lawrence can beat you in a number of ways with his arm or his legs. They have a solid offensive line. It's not elite. It might be, it's really good, but to me, it's not elite because their run game actually wasn't very good for quite a while there. And that's with Travis Etienne, for crying out loud, arguably the best back in the nation talent-wise. But Lawrence can tear you up, and he can manage a game, and he's really good. He's an all-around quarterback, obviously, and they got weapons on the perimeter. How should I say this? We play a lot of soft zone. I don't see that changing. I just don't. I don't think you just change your stripes going into a bowl game like this. I just don't think you do it. You've been this way all year. That's what you're going to be. You just got to do it better, I guess. You've expressed privately some concern to me about the fact that we're gonna give up yards definitely if we play the soft zone, because you think Trevor can eat that up. I mean, are you still concerned about it, or do you see some things that maybe will confuse him, or maybe that will actually cause him to have a couple of problems?
Thinking about it, even last year when they went soft, it was when the Buckeyes went softer in coverage. Maybe you had Akuta bail, shuffle technique. The fundamentals were really good. So if they're breaking, it was a contested catch. And Wade has that capability to maybe be a few yards over top of a route, but then come down on it and make it a contested. Maybe get some PBUs.
Does he? I mean, I know he does, but he hasn't really shown that this year, has he?
I think he has. We don't have coaches' film. I've been reading. Forget who the former Ohio State defensive back. I think the reason I saw it is because you retweeted or liked it, and he was just saying that he saw on film that Wade's been solid all year. And I
did retweet that. Yes, I did. I actually tagged Randy Wade in that one too, because I wanted to see somebody praising his son.
Yeah, of course, Mr. Wade is defending Sean for good reason. I mean, other than Indiana, Penn State, he's been pretty much locked down all year.
Every once in a while, he'll allow a touchdown or whatever. It's just purely because the receiver makes a play. It's not because Sean did anything wrong. It's just it just happens sometimes. I do agree with you. I've talked to you. I've talked to Dylan Freeman about it, who knows this stuff like you do. Talked to a couple other coaches about it, and they said the same thing. Sean's always where he's supposed to be. He's definitely assignment sure, and he knows what he's. I mean, I don't take issue with Sean Wade at all. I take issue sometimes with the coverage calls, but again, I also defend Combs because it's his first year calling game, calling defensive game. And it's a weird year. It's just a really weird year. He may not even have been able to install the entire defense that he wanted to install. Who knows? He may just this is the personnel I have. I don't have time. And I don't have the reps. I don't have the practices to do this. I have to just do what we can do best. And sometimes look, if Patrick Ramsey, I'm not disrespecting Patrick Ramsey, who's a solid quarterback. I'm not.
Peyton Ramsey, thank you.
Yeah. It has Patrick Ramsey from the Redskins. Wow, that was a while ago. Peyton Ramsey, I'm not trying to disrespect him, but he's not Trevor Lawrence. We all know that. Trevor, if Peyton Ramsey can beat you on 3rd and 12, certainly Trevor can kill you on 3rd and 12 with his arm, I would imagine. So I just don't see. I don't know. Something tells me, Kiran, we're going to give up a lot of yards, play a lot of bend, don't break, trying to limit the big play. Am I wrong?
I think that's correct. Most defenses, when they're playing an elite offense, you saw it with Bama, Florida. Those are guys who have blue chip talent on their defense, but they still gave up 46 and 52 points.
Mm-hmm.
So really in today's game, I'd say for the Buckeyes defense, awesome if you limit them to less than 25 points. Still pretty good if it's 25 to 31.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope that they don't give up any more than 31.
They have to get key stops, key opportunity stops.
Red zone defense is important, but back to the coverage calls, I think what they can do is instead of halfly scheme, it was press. It was different variations of half turn. Which means that the corner's facing the quarterback, shuffling, reading what's in front of them. Different variations of bail, which the corners just bail into the deep third, deep sideline. Different variations of that. Coombs, it's more keep everything in front of you. Some off man, some pure cover 3, a little bit of press here and there. Typically, if they're on the backside of the play, they'll play press and just have a lock call, which means that backside corners is man on man with that backside X receiver. So one adjustment they can make is play to the corners a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage to get to lessen the margin of error for any of those inside routes. The one you're thinking about, that 3rd and 12 conversion against Indiana, Peyton Ramsey threw a nice spot throw when Banks was playing a little bit of off coverage, it was almost like a pattern match 3-deep coverage where Banks had to match up on the number one receiver, and he ran a post. Even if you're in press coverage, covering the post is hard. So it's really hard in any type of coverage when it's a single high safety, covering the middle of the field, because as a corner, you can be very vulnerable to any deeper route, really. So really, it's just going to be on a snap-by-snap basis, short memory. No, it would be awesome if Banks just had a coming-out party. We talked about a little bit. E.J. Williams is a guy who's coming on a little bit of late. He's a lengthy guy, and I like Banks on that because Banks is a physical corner, big-bodied guy. And
not very fast, though.
I think Banks is similar to Arnett, where he's not a 4-4 guy, but he's got enough speed to play corner, and he really –
it's his physicality that gives him the advantage, not the speed.
I think he's got some fluidity to work with too. I think he's got really what it takes to be an outside corner. It just takes reps and reps and reps. And obviously this year did him no favors. So I like that E.J. Williams Banks matchup. Williams is typically, I think, the X. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can check real quick. Rogers is on the inside. I think Cornell Powell is typically their X, and then E.J. Williams might be their Z, or they might mix it up. I know Dabo likes to do 6-man, 5-man rotation every single year, even when they have studs. Just have a few guys come in every once in a while to keep the guys fresh, depending on the play call. So Rogers is going to be a big key. We saw that Baron Browning and Justin or Hilliard are really good coverage guys. I remember when I watched Justin play in high school, he was really known for being an absolute machine inside the box. You couldn't block him. You couldn't, even if he slid protection his way, he'd get around it. In terms of running the ball, think twice running it to his side. And now he's shown in 6 years of development, he's even more athletic and he can cover. And Baron Browning's always been a big-bodied, really athletic mover. So we've been talking about, do we kick Justin into Mike so he does what he's best at, working in between the tackles, being instinctive. He's still a great athlete in coverage. Let Browning do what he's best. Keep the Werner in. We love Tuff. Tuff's a great player too. I think Tuff has a lot of respect in the organization for a very good reason. And I think he should still play, obviously, to keep everyone fresh. But to give us the best chance to win, it may be we move Justin to Mike, or who knows what it is. I trust this defensive staff to make their best decision. We're just people sitting on our couch here, so we can't get too ahead of ourselves. And I really just think the key is to really keep that short memory. What did Clemson do last year? The Ohio State offense was pretty elite, and they tapered in the red zone, right? That's what the Buckeyes have to do. They have to get in. If they get into the red zone, force a field goal.
Yep.
A lot of times they may go for it 4th and goal. That's a turnover if they don't convert. So really the key is, okay, with Lawrence, they don't have T. Higgins and Justin Ross, thankfully, but they still have some weapons. They really like to use their tight end a little bit, number 88. Galloway, that's right. So they like to use Galloway sometimes. It's similar to where it's very methodical, like Ohio State. They run duo, they run a little bit of zone. They run some counter plays, some variations to catch the defenses off guard, to really, use some eye candy, you could say. They're even using Lawrence as a runner. Unfortunately, I think when the Buckeyes played them last year, they were able to show that Lawrence is a very capable runner, and now they don't like him.
Halfway straight up said that wasn't even part of the defensive game plan, is figuring Lawrence's foot or his legs. So it definitely exploited us a little bit when he showed his speed down the sideline, even when he's out racing our safeties. But I think obviously going into this year, they know to figure for it this year. So my interest will be, but we'll get to the keys of the game right here in a second. My interest will be is that the game plan? Is it going to be? It's going to really, it's not going to be aesthetically pleasing to Ohio State fans if we are giving up 8 yards here, 8 yards here, just in between the 20s, just giving up chunk plays because the middle field's wide open now. Okay, now the sideline's open because they're just kind of playing a zone, right? And it just kind of is going to start scaring Buckeye fans. And then the hope, I guess, is to funnel it when it gets into the red zone and choke them off and choke off their gains in the red zone, and just hope that They either make a mistake or they have to convert on field goals, like kind of like they did to us last year. And I think that's going to be the ultimate hope. You've kind of said that. I don't see now. Last year's defensive halfway was a stifling defense. That choked people. You didn't really get much on it. This year we are what we are. And let me ask one more question before I get to the keys of the game. Now, Tyrek Smith has been coming on a little bit. And he's starting to show some technique. He's starting to show some maturity in his development. Him versus Jackson Carman, is that a battle he can win?
Yeah, I mean, I was a varsity player, but not much of a contributor. But I remember Carman in high school. The number one thing is if you can get if you're a good speed rusher, Carman is not the most explosive tackle. So with a good rush angle and
that's
setup,
kind of what Smith is, a speed guy.
yeah,
so.
and he's got some power too. And Young was able to beat Carman around the edge. I think Carman, since high school, my analysis is a little redundant. I mean, not redundant, but useless, because Carman's shed weight. He's a much better athlete than he was in high school. He's a phenomenal left tackle, and really, it's going to be a great battle to watch. I think a good way to get pressures on the interior, with Haskell Garrett against a Bockhorst, my former teammate, that's a battle to watch. And I think Haskell can get pressure. It's a good Clemson offensive line. They're always just a team that may not have those first round. I mean, Carman could easily be a first rounder, but we've seen with Clemson, they don't always have those blue chip offensive linemen, but they get the job done, and they end up having guys who go into the NFL and playing pretty decently. So this is a good offensive line, probably one of the best we've probably seen all year. Very similar to the Northwest.
I mean, they have more athletes than anybody we played all year. But we also, I think, probably have the better defensive line than they've seen all year.
Yeah, I would agree. Notre Dame's defensive line is talented, but I think that the Buckeyes' defensive line is more explosive.
Well, yeah, according to Pro Football Focus College Edition, we have one of the most pressure-filled front four in the country. I mean, we get pressure all the time. We don't always get home, but we get pressure all the time. The problem is they got an experienced quarterback who can handle pressure. So,
yeah, Browning and Hilliard are great blitzers.
Yeah, Warner's a good blitzer too.
Warner can blitz. Sorry, and Borland's a pretty solid blitzer too. So we have linebackers that can get after it.
We have some speed at linebacker for sure. I don't know that we have any speed. I mean, we have speed, but not really blitzers. Sean Wade, I don't think they're going to blitz him again. But
yeah, Proctor. I was about to say Proctor is another. Before we get to the keys, real quick, Proctor's played at a high level this year. It's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be that post middle third defender. He's going to come and be that buzz defender. He's probably better at buzz, where he can read the eyes of the quarterback and make tackles in space, hit people, blitz a little bit if the Buckeyes need him to. At single high, he's got enough athleticism. It's just I'm not sure if he has all the reps there. But if they want to use him as that, they have 2 weeks to really solidify. Coombs is one of the best in terms of developing secondary talent. We've seen it this year. I mean, it's been impressive to see Proctor's improvement in such a weird year. It's been impressive to see Banks, giving up some plays here and there, but also just being a real solid corner in his first year as a full-time starter. Losing Cam Brown was so sad, and prayers up to him for his recovery of the torn Achilles. So I am excited to really see how this defense responds to such a great performance. And let's get to the keys of the game here.
All right, let's go. 3 to 5 keys of the game. Again, guys, when I say keys of the game, whoever is watching and listening, I don't mean cliche, no turnovers. I mean, that goes without saying, doesn't it? I mean, that's kind of obvious. You don't want to turn the ball over. Stuff like that. Control the ball. I actually think we're going to play a bend, not break defense and ball control offense, which could be difficult, tough, but it is Clemson. Nothing's easy about it. Kiran, give us your main keys to the game and just kind of like a quick summation of what you think will lead to an Ohio State victory.
Yeah, I think the key on offense, average 5 yards to carry. This will be huge because in the shorter yardage situations, if they can lean on the run game, even on 1st and 10 to get 6 yards and get ahead of the chains, that's going to be huge. Offensively, obviously no turnovers, but be efficient in the passing game and limit mistakes, obviously. I think offensively score at least 31 points. If we score at least 31 points, we have such a good shot. I mean, they have such a good shot to bring us home a national title, or excuse me, a Sugar Bowl ring and trophy. So I think if the Buckeyes offense is explosive and mistake free, obviously they have a great shot at winning the game. But I think 31 points is the key. Because if the defense gives up 21 to 28,
that's a good defensive performance.
It is. Against that offense, it's a good performance in today's collegiate game. Defensively, the key is pressure. Force him into 3rd and 7. Force him into 2nd and 8. And really just front 7's going to have to go ham because the secondary is good, but we know Lawrence can make these ridiculous throws. He can thread the needle. They like to attack the outside with the comeback routes. They'll like to try to get receivers stacked and find a guy vertically. So guys like Haskell and Togiai and other defensive ends like Zach Harrison, and we obviously know Blocko Cooper. What a great player he is! What a great year he's had. Or relentless pressure with the front four.
Be nice if Friday and JJB are back. That'd be nice.
Yeah. I was about to say Friday and JJB, keep them fresh. Both really talented.
If they're back, I don't know if they've been out a couple games. I don't know if they're back or not.
Yeah, I guess there's something we'll have to keep an eye on and keep listeners updated on Twitter. I think that the linebacking core will be very crucial as well. I mean, man, Hilliard really forced 2 game-changing turnovers. I'm just so excited because of everything he's faced and everything he's overcome. It's not easy to tear your biceps and then rupture your Achilles and then turn around and have such a great season. Even last year, he ruptured his Achilles in the spring, came and had a great year. So what an inspirational story that is for everyone in every facet of life. You don't have to be an athlete. We all have our struggles, and I just want to touch on that for a moment because I know it's been talked about, but he's someone who's really just never looked back. And he told me once, because I was actually facing some adversity. I actually was in the hospital once, and I was spending some time volunteering during camp last year just to help out in the Woody, and so that's how we reconnected. And when I was in the hospital, he offered prayers to me and told me that the key is to just forget the past and just get better every day. And it's simple, but that's really, when he faced the adversity, something that he's really done. And it's just great to see, as someone who's watched him over the years, be able to do. And not just him, but guys like Werner and Borland and Browning, they have so much trust in each other. Dallas Gant's another guy who's been able to come in a little bit too. So they have stars in the linebacking core, and I'm really excited to see them fly around. And then obviously secondary with Wade playing on the outside. We have full trust in him, and let's hope for a great game for Banks. Really, he can put it all together and play nicely here. Proctor and Ransom and Hooker will be the 3 safeties. Unless is he cleared for this game?
They haven't really given an availability report yet, and Ryan Day's hinting that all the guys are going to be back, but we'll see.
Yeah, great. That's really good to hear.
But yeah, you Hickman as well is a huge one. So anyway, well, you got any more to say here, or are we gonna shut it off here in a second?
I think we touched on a lot of really good things. I have confidence that the Buckeyes can win this game and make us all proud and happy. It's just great that they were able to overcome so much this year with all the craziness. It's very stressful. I mean, these guys have pretty much been in a bubble and just been focused team first. And it's pretty inspirational to see how the coaches have talked, how the players have responded. And kudos to Clemson for also making this far. The players, despite what we've heard from Coach Sweeney with the 11th, I think this is a team that really respects the Buckeyes. I'm pretty sure Lawrence said it was the most physical game that he played all year, and he took some hits in that game. So they're going to bring their A game. So I don't really think they're sleeping on us, but I think that Ohio State is really going to be gritty. And I expect us to win 34-31.
All right. That's Kiran's prediction there. 34-31. I like it. I'll take it. We'll take a win no matter how we get it. I don't care if it's 2-0. We'll take a win however we get it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Kiran. This is the Scarlet and Gray podcast. If you want to follow Kiran on Twitter, it is @_ Kiran Shanker. You can see the name right there, KIRANSHANKER underscore at Kiran or @ Kiran Shanker . That's how you find him on Twitter, everybody. I'll put it in the description as well. Thanks, Kiran, as always, man. It's been a great preview. We'll have more coming up this week. Hopefully, Johnny will be back. And he's been delayed a flight like something like 8 days or whatever it was in Chicago. It's ridiculous. Thanks again, Kiran.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me on. Go Bucks.
Goodbye. God bless, and go Bucks, as Kiran said.